My name is Bilki Sulabaran. I'm a journalist. I work at the BBC World Service.
Thank you. Well, today I'm going to ask you a few questions if you don't mind. So, question number one. Question number one is kind of a simple question. Like, since you're a BBC editor, my question is, who inspired you to do what you do now?
Okay. I've always been passionate about information, knowledge, because I think it's really important for people to be informed. If you are very informed about something, then it's easier for you to make the right decision. But if you don't educate yourself, if you don't research information properly, if you don't inform yourself, you might end up taking a decision that is based on incomplete information. And that could be dangerous, or that could, at the very least, be inconvenient. So it's really, really important. I'm very passionate about information and, by extension, education, because I think education, information, knowledge are things that can lead you anywhere, can help you to achieve what you need to achieve. So it arose from personal passion, but in terms of actual inspiration, I can attribute that to my father. My dad was also a journalist. He was a broadcaster for a religious station. He was a Christian preacher and used to broadcast on the radio mainly in those days. And so, I'd watch how he would work. I would watch him researching information. I would watch him how he would relate to his audiences and communicate the information. And he was so passionate about the work that he did that it just motivated me and inspired me to also want to really do what I consider almost like a public service of just informing people, or at least encouraging them to just find information, always find information. Once you've got information, then you can do anything, you can achieve anything.
No, so this is like a bonus question because you're not right. Because I was trying to research something on you, yeah, like find some information so I could ask like some questions, but it was
Okay.
really difficult because I don't know how to put this, but on social, like, you don't have that much information, no, like Wikipedia or anything like that. So like, why editing? Is it like a shy thing or something else?
Okay, it's a very good question. First of all, I'm quite impressed that you actually did your homework by trying to research me. That is very important, because if you're interviewing somebody, very important as part of your preparation to research them, to research things that they've written in the past and understand the point of view that they're coming from. So I'm impressed that you did that. Secondly, I actually have a very strong presence online. Um, but what you will say, which I acknowledge, is there isn't a lot of personal information, and that's
Yeah.
by choice,
Okay.
because I guard my privacy very jealously. And therefore, I will post. I'm very prolific when it comes to Instagram or when it comes to Twitter or whatever, but I would never post anything that I don't want the world to know, because anything you post online, it can be seen by anybody, but also remains there forever, and I've got children. I have to be very careful what I post, because I have to protect their privacy as well. I have to protect their safety, and I have to protect my own privacy. I don't believe in people who post like pictures of their children on Facebook, or personal information. My home address is what is the point? I, I don't understand why people do things like that. I believe in talking, engaging the public in very interesting conversations. My passion is Africa. I'm an editor in charge of the African service, and therefore anything that involves Africa, whether it's Africa's development, whether it's Africa's youth, whether it's, how we develop the continent, any common problems that we have, any battles we're fighting, we've got issues of global warming, they're affecting our people. We've got the youngest population, we've got the largest population, young population in the world. Africa is the youngest continent. Do we have enough jobs for those people? Are we preparing them for the next generation with the development and change in technology? What are we doing to open up opportunities for them in the world so that they can compete on the same basis as young people in America, young people in Europe, wherever? So these are things that excite me, how we can improve our continent.
Oh, okay. So it's like trying to improve. It's like a race where like Europe and America like running in front,
Mm.
and then Africa as a continent is trailing behind. So you're trying to improve it and get them further in the race.
Yeah, it's an imbalanced world,
Okay.
to a certain extent. You can say there is a bit of injustice as well. Europe, America, as you said, obviously these are developed countries, developed continents. Africa is trailing behind. Many of our economies are struggling. Very few African countries, if any, can be said to be in the first world. Parts of maybe South Africa, parts of, a bit of Nigeria, Kenya, yes, you have very rich people, however, you also have very serious issues with development. We still have people, children under the age of 5, dying from malaria, simple diseases that in theory should have been eradicated, but we're still struggling with things like that on the continent. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and I think one way of doing it is by opening up those opportunities to the young people who are up and coming, who are the future leaders of the continent, making sure that they have access to global information, global trends, and things that they can adapt to help or to deal with the issues that we have on the continent.
Oh, okay. So where did this media BBC process begin for you?
Okay, that's a very good question. Um, I was living in Nigeria, in central Nigeria. I graduated from a university called Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, Nigeria. I finished my first degree and then did my youth service, which is compulsory for all young people in Nigeria, and then went back to do my master's degree. So, because I was the best graduating student, I was also automatically absorbed as an assistant lecturer while I was doing my postgraduate studies. And then when I graduated, I then qualified to become a full lecturer. So I was doing that when I got headhunted by the BBC. The BBC editor contacted me, said, "Oh, you've got exactly the right profile that we need. We're looking for producers to come and do some work in London, England." And by happy coincidence, at that time, I was considering doing a PhD. So I thought, actually, I've done my first degree in the same university. I've done my second degree in the same university. This could be an opportunity to go and do my doctorate degree in a different environment. So I thought, hey, why not? So I accepted the offer, and yeah, the rest they say is history.
Oh, okay. So this might be a personal question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Mhm.
So apart from home and work, where's the best place where you enjoy being yourself and uh, just forget what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I love being on the beach. I love being in Africa, somewhere on the beach. That's like my perfect place. If there was ever a cemetery on a beach somewhere in Africa, bury me there.
Oh, okay.
um, I just love lying back, enjoying the warmth, the heat of the sun, watching the waves of the Atlantic Ocean, getting lost in my thoughts, daydreaming, watching the fishermen go out and catch fish to come and feed their families, watching the kids run around and play football, watching the people trying to earn a bit of income, and playing with the tourists as they play on the beach, and all of that. It's just my perfect location to just lie back lazily on a beach somewhere in Africa.
Okay. So like you see with all like BBC Africa bringing new languages like Pidgin, Yoruba, Igbo.
Mm-hmm.
Or is the BBC planning on bringing any other languages to its branch?
So this will be a decision for the BBC and for the British government. As
Okay.
you know, the BBC World Service is funded by the British government. So, of course, at the right time and with the right opportunities, if there's funding, of course, I would imagine that the BBC would want to open new languages. The current ones, that the expansion has just been a phenomenal opportunity for the BBC, whereby I think this is the biggest investment since the 1940s. This current investment expanding the World Service by 12 new languages. That is phenomenal. So it's a really exciting opportunity, and for us in BBC Africa, it's a very exciting opportunity to be able to start up these new languages to reach new audiences, and especially new younger audiences. The Pigeon service in particular is aimed at young people, as well as the others, but especially with Pigeon. As you know, Pigeon is very popular in West Africa, and so it's been a very exciting project for me to work on setting it up and just connect with young people across the whole West African region again, and just feel their energy, just feel their hunger to develop the continent. And also, really impressive is their self-confidence, in the sense of taking ownership of Pidgin. Pidgin, as you know, is English based, a bit of English, a bit of Portuguese and other European languages, as well as domestic indigenous languages, and these young people have absolutely no qualms at all about speaking Pidgin in the way that they feel, you know they can best express themselves. They're just so confident. It's not about having any hang-ups, or it's a colonial language. No, and that gives me such joy, such pride, that young Africans are coming out of themselves, are becoming confident in who they are, and that's the kind of confidence that we need for them to grab the continent and push it forward. Try to forget about what has gone in the past. You try to forget about the issues, the colonization, slavery, etc., etc. That legacy will remain. However, with the opening up of technology, with things happening around the world, globalization, etc., I think this is a really good time for young Africans to grab hold of the mantle of leadership in the continent, and to take those opportunities and move the continent forward.
Okay. Thank you. You should really write a book or like an autobiography or something.
Oh, well, if I have the time, yes, I keep saying I should. Someday,
Okay.
yes.
So I've got two more questions.
Okay,
You can answer them in whatever order you'd like.
right.
Number one is, if you weren't a news editor, what would you actually be? And number two is, what advice would you give others, like other people, like the youth that are interested in what you do and
Mm,
how you do it?
mm,
So like, what advice do you give them?
okay. If I wasn't a news editor, I'd be a teacher somewhere in Africa. It still comes back to my love of imparting information. Uh, I used to be a lecturer, I mentioned, at the university. I may not go to that level. I may go lower, secondary, maybe even primary school level, just to nurture those young people that are coming up, you know, just to impart knowledge, especially now after so many years of working internationally, understanding the world a lot more. I'd love to be able to go back and give back and support and develop those young people and mentor them and steer them in a way that they will become something, they will achieve something for themselves individually, but also as a collective, for to do something, to improve our lot in our country and in our continent. So that answers the first question. The second question, for any young person who wants to become a journalist or whatever they want to be for that matter, chase your dreams, follow your dreams. However, you have to work extremely hard. You have to be really focused. If this is what you decide to do, be really focused and do your homework. What do I need to do? What do I need to know in order to be a good journalist? What do I need to do in order to open up those opportunities for myself? Know the right people, contact them. Don't be afraid to contact key people in the industry and ask for opportunities. You never know. You may send 100 emails, one may come back, one response may come back to say, oh, yeah, okay, yes, you want to come and, shadow me for a day, by all means, I can organize that. You never know, even if you don't get invited to come and shadow somebody, follow them on social media. Make sure that you're keeping on top of trends in the industry, what the industry leaders are saying, what is happening in that industry, and just position yourself and acquire the right skills so that the moment the opportunity opens itself up, you are there to grab it. But if you don't have the right qualifications and all of a sudden BBC or ITV advertise, oh, we have an internship for young journalists that have just finished their GCSEs, you didn't prepare yourself. You didn't have the right qualification, and therefore, no matter how much you want to be a journalist, you won't get invited.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that
Yes,
makes a lot
a
of
lot,
sense.
a lot. Wow.
Yeah, so
So thank you for
It's
thank you
really
for your time.
you're
very,
very
Um,
very
welcome.